programs, I can tell you that being part of so many different programs, that 80% of what we teach is the same. And what I did find is that there is a small percent, maybe 10 or 20% differences between all these different programs. And I'm not talking about the price, because that can range anywhere from, $25,000 to $100,000. And what I'm talking about is there's little differences in their methods, the type of deal they're looking for, the tools and resources that they provide for you, and the level of training that they provide for you. And so we've tried to take everything that we learned from every one of those programs and bring it under one roof in the GOB network. And more importantly, we tried to bring all the differences that we learned under that same roof with the GOB network, and bring also all of the hard learned lessons of being an entrepreneur over the last 40 years. And I really should say 30 years, because a dozen of those years was spent working, in what I call working for the man, having a regular W-2 job. And I enjoyed that. And I can honestly say, unlike most people, they say 80% of people hate the job that they're in. I never really hated very many jobs. When I was really young, there was a couple that I wasn't particularly fond of. I had to, if anyone, I know Pat, because much of Michigan is still rural. In Tennessee, almost everyone had a cesspool or a septic tank. And there were companies that would come around, and nowadays they have these big vacuum cleaners, and they just, suck up all the solids, off the top. But one of my very first jobs was going down in there and doing that by hand with a scoop. And so I can't say that I loved that job,
That was a dirty job before it was.
That was
popular,
a dirty
right?
job before the show. And I don't know that you could find that job anymore. And working, I grew up mostly in the country and had a job when I was a teenager working at a chicken facility. And, if people don't realize, but most chickens are raised, if you're a poor chicken farmer, like in Tennessee, where I was from, they'd just be a big, big, big barn, but the barn was very low to the ground. It didn't look like what you think of as a barn. Mm-hmm. And it was usually metal. It was hot as Hades. And you couldn't see the floor. There were so many chickens. Yep. You literally couldn't see the floor. And it smelled like chicken poop. Now, chicken poop by itself doesn't smell that bad, but you put 1,000 chickens in one place and it'll smell for acres and acres and acres. So those are two jobs I can't say I was absolutely in love with, but just about everything else I've done, I've enjoyed my work. I've enjoyed my job. But I know that most people don't. And that's what a lot of people are looking for when they're going to these programs. They're looking for a way to escape the W-2. They're looking for a way to build generational wealth. They're looking for a way to build passive income. And there's a thing that I call the goose that laid the golden egg. And every program that I ever participated in, that's the one thing they will not share with you, and was one of the key foundational pieces that Pat already alluded to, that I wanted to make sure that was available to all the members of the GOB network. And that's access to everyone's net worth, liquidity, schedule of real estate owned, because there might be 1,000 reasons that you cannot get a deal done. There might be 1,000 obstacles in your path. And if I'm lucky, maybe I can overcome 10 of them. I can help you with the net worth if you don't have it, or the liquidity if you don't have it, or the schedule of real estate owned, or the Fannie and Freddie card. But the biggest obstacle is, I've heard said, is 6 inches, that travel from here to here. That's the longest road that you'll have to travel, is only 6 inches. And we're going to address that. We are addressing it. Meetings like this, we try to address it. But it is absolutely the hardest thing any of us will ever have to overcome. But having said that, one of the other pieces to the GOB network is we want to have a hive mind. I don't want to be the face of the GOB network. I love the fact that I was so lucky to have the idea to start it, because anybody could have had the idea of the pet rock. And that's me. I just got lucky enough to have the idea for the pet rock of real estate. And we're operating basically as a nonprofit in order to bring all of that educational content. But more importantly, we want to bring the other things that you don't get, that most people don't know this, but the success rate in most of those programs is abysmal. I've heard that it's as low as 3 to 5%. And so, you know, we are not looking to be, you know, change the world, but I do believe that we can do better than 3 to 5%. Yeah. I really do.
So let me ask you one question
before
we go on, and I don't mean to interrupt your sort of story, but when you had that initial thought of the GOB, kind of explore that, because obviously you've had some experience with, and again, let me state, we're not here to bash gurus or the different camps. And again, this is just a different alternative, a different way of doing things, which is definitely, it is different because I come from Ron LeGrand and all these, I've taken all these mentors and stuff like that. So that's not the reason for this. But when you had that idea, yes, the pet rock, I mean, everybody had that. How did you take that idea and then what was your next step? Like you had that idea and said, okay, how do we make this work?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm glad that you asked that, Pat, because I didn't realize that I had the idea, because every time I kept going back to those programs, there were things that would bother me, but I've always been one of those people that had blinders on. And what I mean by that is I was so focused on my success that I didn't let anything get in my way. I jumped into the deep end of the ocean or deep into the pool. And so when a guru tells you, you know, I've learned after 64 years that when someone tells you something, you need to listen. They're trying to tell you the truth, you know, and you go into a room with one of these weekend events and there might be 500 or 1,000 people. And one of the very first things they tell you is, you know what, you guys are brilliant for being here. You really are unusual people. Most people don't take action to make something of themselves and to invest in themselves. And so we're really proud that you're here, and you can feel really good about being, you know, kind of at the top here.
Taking action, right?
Right, taking action. But 80% of you are not going to join this program, and that's okay. We understand that. It just means this is not for you, but you're still going to learn a lot this weekend. And that was one of those things that bothered me, but I had those blinders on and I said, not me, I'm ready. You know, I'm ready to give you my money. I'm ready to join the program. Just tell me what I got to do to be a success, you know, and the 80% of the people that walked away from that, it's not that they didn't want to learn. It's not that they didn't want to participate in the program. You just didn't sell them on the idea. You know, you just didn't convince them that it was worth, you know, 50 grand or whatever you were charging. And so I always thought their business plan was broken. I thought it was like, okay, you just told 80% of the money, 80% of the net worth and liquidity, you're not interested in them. And I knew from the car business, if everybody that walked in the front door, I said, you know what, 80% of people walk in here, they never buy a car from us. You're probably not going to buy one either. It doesn't matter what I say after that. You know, it's a done deal.
Because they're going to go out to the Chrysler dealership or the Ford dealership, and that guy's going to say, you know what, I can put you in this car today, sir. Give me your paperwork. And you're right. That is true.
And so I always thought that. But it wasn't until last year, Pat, I had the biggest, what Rod Cleave calls seminar of my life. Seminar, for those that don't know it, mean a failure, a setback, a big uh-oh. And I had that out in Phoenix, and I was 63 at the time, and quite honestly was ready to retire. I had already retired from anything other than real estate. I was full-time real estate. But, you know, at that age, I just couldn't afford to make a big, big, big 6-figure mistake too many more times.
Mhm.
And so I told my wife, I'm done. And I don't know if it was that statement where you finally let your guard down and now you're able to reflect on your life and think about what you have done and where you've been. And quite honestly, I was hurting. I needed some time to lick my wounds. And that was when I flew out to Hawaii to be with my son and my grandson. And it was while I was there, and we're right in the middle of COVID. The island has no tourists. And so after my quarantine was up, I had the island to myself. And I was setting up on the top of these mountains overlooking the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. And maybe it was the majesty of that moment, or maybe it was, that I had a chance to actually reflect. I don't know what it was, but just like a bolt of lightning, the idea came to me that all of the things that bothered me, I could do something about that. I could offer it in a different way. And so I started really analyzing it. And I come to realize their business plan is not broken. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's surgical. It's tactical. They're telling you 80% of you don't want to do this because they want to get to the people that have the money. They want everybody else out of the room as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
And
didn't hurt, right? Yeah.
Correct. And so anyway, I had the idea and I started laying the groundwork for the way I would do it if nothing was standing in my way and if I could do anything I wanted to do. And so then I started calling a few of my friends and said, what do you think of this idea? And most of them told me, you're crazy. It won't work.
Well, it's going against conventional wisdom, right?
It is.
I mean, because it's an established, speaking from the stage has been going on for decades, right?
Yeah.
Here you're coming in and saying, wait a minute, we're not going to do it. And you're like, whoa, how are you going to do this? How are you going to live?
Yeah. And I knew that I didn't have to have money. So that was number one. Most of these guys have to have money. And I knew that I could live off my retirement. I could go play golf 3 or 4 times a week, or I could try to do this. And so enough of my friends convinced me to give it a try that I said, okay, I'll beta test this thing for 90 days. And if I get some traction, then we'll stand it up and we'll give it another 6 months and see if we can make it work. So the beta test convinced me, yeah, it's viable. So then I started inviting people like you and a lot of the other very early adopters into the program. And thank goodness for me, enough of you seen the opportunity there and seen what I was trying to do and either had a similar vision or was willing to help me achieve mine. I don't know which, but I'm grateful either way. But after 6 months of trying to stand it up, we said, if it doesn't work, we'll just quit and go play golf. But we're almost 11 months into it now. Mm-hmm. And we've got, I think I checked today, we have like 550 people that have signed up on the website. And we probably have another 600 or 700 that are, no, I'm sorry, that's probably total. We have probably another 400 people on our Slack channel. And if you cross them together, we probably have 600 or 700 people. But regardless, we're growing very, very fast. And what's really unique about the growth is that it's a member only, by invitation only network. You can't get onto the website. Well, we have a public facing piece that we're building out so that we can help train and we really want to bring financial literacy to the masses. We really want to bring that, especially to people that grew up poor, that didn't have a role model and don't know how to make money, not because they don't want to, they just have never seen, they've never had a model to follow. And so we want to do that for everyone on the public side of the network. But to actually join and get access to all of our tools and resources and access to the members and the net worth and liquidity and all the other pieces that you need, you have to be invited and you have to have someone sponsor you. So anyone that's on this call that is interested in joining, you could go to the gobnetwork.com and fill out the application there. And you're going to come to a point where it says, who invited you? How'd you hear about it? In other words, who's going to sponsor you? And every one of you can say Pat Gage. And then Pat gets credit for that. So one of the ways that we're keeping the network free is there's a thing called gamification, and we're giving people credit or points for things that they do that are participatory. Because although we're not charging anything from a financial standpoint, we do tell everyone that joins there is a cost to joining. And the cost is we're looking for go-givers. And I don't care if you were not a go-giver yesterday. I only care about today and every day going forward. And if you demonstrate that you're a go-giver on this network, you'll always be welcome. And the second thing we're looking for is participation. So as long as you're participating, this network will never cost you a dime. You know, there's ways for you to constantly build up points or credits so that the whole thing is always free for you. Pat's doing one of those, which is inviting people to join the network, but also Pat has become an affiliate. His meetup, which was already very successful, didn't need the GOB network, but Pat said, look, I believe in this. I want to help you guys. I want to become an affiliate member of the GOB also. And you can brand your own meetup. And if you're very successful, you can become an affiliate. But if you don't even have a meetup, we'll give you all of our branding and let you be the GOB of NYC, because Mark has left that and moved to the Carolinas.
Oh,
and
so okay. I was wondering about that. I haven't seen him.
But the way we're trying to help people build their brand if they don't have one is that if you're in a market where everyone that you know and everyone that comes to your meetups and everyone that associates with you, every time they hear GOB or they see your logo, they're always thinking of you. They're not thinking of me. They're thinking of the person in that city that's doing everything in that city or on that particular network. For instance, with Daryl, you know, when they think of the GOB, you know, they're hopefully thinking of Daryl. And in New York, when Mark was building out, you know, in New York, hopefully they're thinking of Mark, you know, and so we're trying to help individuals build their brand. And if we can have 1,000 individuals that become the GOB in their particular network, then that'll help us grow bigger and bigger as a result also.
Exactly. And also, folks, you don't have to do a meetup. You can participate. And that's what I love about this concept, the GOB is, you know, you don't have to be what they call, you know, leadership platform. You can still give, but hey, you're good at bookkeeping, or you're good at marketing, or you're good at, that's how you give back to the network. Hey, I don't like doing underwriter. I don't like doing the marketing. If that's what you do, or you're good with numbers, you team up with somebody that, you know, doesn't really want to do that. And that's the difference in this type of organization compared, let's say, you know, others that, you know, pay for play kind of thing. Well, you're paying, but you're paying with your time, your energy, your experience in the group, and giving to people that stuff that you do on an everyday basis that may be a challenge for somebody else, right? Yeah. I mean, that's the benefit.
Exactly. And I do want to confirm and reaffirm what you said earlier. We're not in competition with all these other programs. These programs have a place. We'll never put them out of business. We don't intend to put them out of business. We're not competing for the same people. You know, quite honestly, if anyone from those programs wants to join us, I'm happy to allow them to join us. And we do have a lot of people in the GOB network that are also members of other programs. We have people from Michael Blank's program. We have people from Sumrock's program. We have people from RE Mentor and the Dave Lindahl program. We have people from Neil Bawa's program, Anthony Chara's program. You name them, we probably have them on the GOB. And some people need a certain amount of coaching, and they know that of themselves, and they want someone that'll kind of kick them in the butt every day. And we are going to eventually offer that, but that is not what our platform is built on a different kind of mentoring. And it's the kind of mentoring that the best mentoring I've had personally in my life, I don't call it mentoring. It's just friendship. I have a friendship with Pat. We talk to each other. We have similar ideas and similar interests and similar goals, and we share back and forth. I don't teach Pat. I share ideas with Pat. He shares ideas back with me. And it's a collaborative relationship. We both learn from each other. And those have been the best mentorships that I have ever had. Even when I was young and I considered, my coaches in sports as my mentors, they motivated me, but they weren't getting paid to motivate me. They motivated me out of, a sense of mission. They wanted me to be better and they wanted the team to be better. And that's the idea that I like. And that's the model that I like to follow.
Well, I also, not to interrupt you, but I also like the fact that, yes, we're not, in competition, but being able to push, like you said earlier, my boundaries or your boundaries by maybe one thing I said or you said, oh, I didn't think about that. That's where you expand as a person or as a company or whatever. That's how you expand by, well, wait a minute, why don't you try this? Oh, never thought about that.
Yeah.
Boom. I mean, that's awesome.
And
Hartford had his hand raised. Hartford, do you want to unmute and ask a question?
Yeah. How you guys doing tonight?
fantastic.
I know you mentioned in the beginning that you focus on multifamily. Do you have plans to focus on other asset classes, or are you guys just going to stick with the multifamily?
No, we want to be the Wikipedia of real estate, every corner of real estate. When we find someone who is the very best wholesaler out there, then we want to start the GOB Network division the wholesale division. And we want that person to start leading it and teaching it and bringing those members into the wholesaling piece. Not everyone wants to be an apartment investor. And so there's a different starting point for everyone. And, we love apartments. We think that just about everybody who's been doing this long enough will eventually want to do apartments. But there's people out there that just cannot conceive of it. They cannot wrap their mind around it, and they have to start somewhere else. I had to start somewhere else. I could not have started in multifamily. And so we want to, when we find somebody who's great at industrial, we want to bring them in. Great at office, we want to bring them in. Great at mobile home parks, great at triple net lease. We want to be all things real estate. We want to have at some point, and guys, we're on a 40-year mission. I'm not trying to get this done in 4 years. It's a 40-year mission. Now, things are happening for us very, very fast, and so fast that we're stumbling. When you first learn to run and you're running, falling forward, that's what we're doing. I love calling it failing forward because you learn from your mistakes. We eventually want to have a brokerage for both lending and sales. We want to have a mortgage bank. We want to have property management. If it has anything to do with real estate, we want to be teaching it, and we want to offer resources to all of our members. And we want to offer, if you know what a co-op is, growing up in farm country, a co-op is where you come together to build one big facility that's like a feed store. It's like many places know what Blaine's Farm and Fleet is, or Tractor Supply. But if you can think of like a Myers or a Super Walmart, you come together to build something like that for each community. And it also is a grainery. And it's aimed mostly around farmers and farming communities. But together, they band together and they can get discounts that you could only get if you were super big. You can only get if you were Walmart or Myers or, some of these big places. And that's what we want to offer to our membership. But because we're not trying to profit from it, we're operating as a nonprofit, we need other ways to drive revenue. So for people that don't want to participate, but they want access to our information, we'll sell them the access. If they want to give us 30 grand, we'll give them all of the information that everybody else is going to get for free. And they can get it instantly. They don't need to participate. They don't need to be a go-giver. They just get access to the information. But it's going to cost them at least 30 grand. And it'll cost them that much per year if they want to keep coming back. And we also are encouraging all of our members, never, ever, ever dispose of even the tiniest bit of information. because we live in an information age, and information is super valuable. And I really do believe if we knuckle down in 3 years, I know we have a lot more information on a particular deal than anyone else in the world. We have more than CoStar, we have more than Yardi, we have more than Zillow, we have more than apartments.com, because they cannot get that granular. But we're underwriting a particular deal. We're underwriting the submarket. We're underwriting the jobs. We're underwriting the rents. We're doing so much work on that particular submarket to get a deal done that we have more granular knowledge than anyone. And somebody big like RealPage or Yardi or CoStar will pay us thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to access that information. And that's the kind of things that we'll put in place to make sure that we can continue as a nonprofit driven model for our members going forward.
Gotcha. And also, think though, those are all team members coming together to get that information, right? Now, one guy has this, or I'm good at demographics, or he's good at this. It's the team aspect coming together on let's say a 100 unit that brings all that together, right? And that's what we're talking about here is that type of collaboration where, I may like to underwrite or Jim may not. Hey, just give me the bottom line. You have those type of people. And there is, Hartford, to kind of expand on what Jim said. Yes, there is other people in there that are doing multifamily and, let's say, mobile home parks or, self-storage. So there is that. And the biggest thing, the value that I get from it is that I can come to a group and present something and not have that, well, it doesn't hit our criteria, the let's say the master or the guru doesn't like it. There's somebody going to be in that group that's going to like what you're presenting, right? It may not be, everybody. Like if you have to go to a multifamily boot camp, that's all they do, right? So there's a lot of different people in there. Dennis, you had your hand raised. Go ahead and ask a question, sir.
Hey, this is actually his wife. We're in here together.
Okay.
My name's Rebekah. So how does it work when you're completely new to this? You want to be able to participate, but you don't have that knowledge in one particular area or the other to lend your expertise in.
First off, I want to apologize to you and to Dennis, because right away when you said this is his wife, I thought, okay, it's Dennis and Denise, but you said it was Rebekah?
Correct.
Correct. Okay, Rebekah. So everyone has the ability to participate. I'll give you several examples. Your 9-year-old could participate if they wanted to, because they know so much about social media. So one of the things that is our key to our foundational concepts is helping each person in the network build their brand. And so one of the things you have to do in this information age is you have to have a brand if you want to raise capital. And so the easiest way to do that is to post educational content on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, places like that. And all of those platforms are driven by participation. In other words, if Pat makes a post and I go comment on it, that boosts Pat's post. And if somebody comments on my comment, it boosted a little bit higher. So one of the things I encourage everyone to do is follow the hashtag GOB Network, or just GOB Network. And I encourage everyone that posts to put that in their post. And so that way I can go on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever and type in hashtag GOB Network, and it'll pull up anybody's post that had that hashtag in it. And I can go like and share and comment on each one of those posts, and it doesn't take me that much time to do it. And you're participating, and we're going to give you points every time you do that. And so that's an easy way to participate. Another way to participate is make your own post and put the GOB Network in your hashtag. So making posts, commenting on posts, helping each other build each other's brand. Imagine if every one of us was actually doing this, and we should be, we all committed to doing it, but we're not. And we have to train each other to do it. I don't expect everything to happen instantly and overnight, but we've got over 500 people. So if Pat made a post tonight, and if 500 people commented on that post, it would be a viral post. I guarantee you it would be on LinkedIn's feed as one of the #1 posts of the week. And we could do that for every member every week. We would dominate anything on social media regarding apartment real estate investing. Every week, we would drown out everyone else. And the sooner we all realize that and start doing it, the sooner all of us will have massive success.
And see, that stuff right there that, a lot of other groups may not teach, right? So that was a great question.
They only want you posting on their post.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not trying to build your brand.
Yeah, exactly. But it could be a simple question. Hey, I need a business plan for XYZ, and out there, and then somebody will come up and post that. And that's why I've done that. Hey, I need a business plan for a rehab of an apartment, or I have a question. I may not know it, and that's why I ask it. But, Dennis may know it, or, Hartford may know it. That's the whole, the beauty of this, the GOB, network and doing that. So that's what I enjoy about it.
Yeah. And Pat just reminded me that we have, we're trying to build out a GOB meetup in every city across America and across the world. And we had very early interest in having a meetup from a person that lives in Hong Kong and a person that lives in Beijing, China, a couple of military guys that are in the Middle East, another one in Japan, one on Guam. So we haven't gotten there yet, but we're in very, very early stages here. And aside from following people's social media posts, we put out a meetup calendar so that if you want to get to know instantly everything about real estate investing in apartments, you can go to these meetups and learn it super fast. And I'm telling you right now, these are interactive. They're much better trying to learn with 20 people in a room than there is trying to learn with 200 or 2,000 in a room. And you're being just talked to the whole time. You're not getting to participate. And by coming to these meetups, even if you're not the host, but you're supporting the other GOB members, then again, you're participating. You're earning your credits to be a part of the program. So it's really easy. Now, we would love for you to get to a point where you've built your website, you have a backlink on your website to our website, we have a backlink to your website, you're providing a blog to your network, and you use your blog on our RSS feed, and we do the same on yours. You add content to our newsletter, we add content to your newsletter, we support your YouTube channel, you come on and do, we've got a bunch of members that have their own meetup and their own podcast. And I've told every one of them, look, I would love for you have an endless supply of guests within the GOB network. And if you don't want to have the same old guests that everyone else has on every other podcast, just reach into the GOB network and start interviewing the people inside the network. And I'm going to tell you, the best interviews are the people that, so Rebekah, you said you're new at this. What does that mean? Have you ever bought, you and Dennis, have you ever bought an investment property? Do you have even like one house that you're renting out? We might have lost Rebekah and Dennis. Well, Dennis is still there. Rebekah's probably having to put the kids to bed. But
I'm sorry, I'm here. Can you say that one more time?
Yeah, so you said that you're new at this. So my question is, have you guys ever, are you brand new, or have you done something? Do you have at least one rental, or you've done at least one fix and flip, or are you just brand new?
So we took the plunge at one point and invested quite a bit of money into a program to learn how to do it. And we kind of dipped our toes in it a little bit afterwards and never really got anywhere. So we've got a little bit of background knowledge, but we haven't actually been able to execute anything.
Yeah. So this is, so I hope you heard Rebekah when I say just by being here tonight, you're participating. And so someone like Rebekah would be an excellent interview for a meetup or for a podcast. We spent, and I don't know how much she spent, but we spent X to go out and learn how to do this. And quite honestly, it didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Was it my fault? Was it the program's fault? Was it my mentor's fault? Was it my coach's fault? You know, what happened? And that's what everyone wants to know. And people that haven't even gone that far, that are like, I'm interested, but I don't know anything. Well, why are you interested? What have you done to try to educate yourself? What is that path? What does that journey look like? These are the stories that people love to hear, and it helps guide them on their journey, the ones that are just getting started. And most people, they can't relate to someone who's already been, you know, way past that. And we forget what it was like to be new. We forget what it was like to be scared. We forget what it was like to be unsure and to invest money. But I'm going to ask Rebekah one more question, because I hope I'm not ruining my punchline here. Rebekah, I'm going to just say that instead of making you admit that you spent 25 grand on a program. If you had taken that 25 grand and invested it into an investment property, whether it's a single family or whether it was as an LP on an apartment building, would you have been better off than where you are today?
That's hard to answer. There's a possibility that we would be, but we did get a lot of information from that program that we didn't have prior as well.
Yeah.
So without that knowledge from the program, even if we had invested it somewhere else, we may not have even known what we were doing.
Well, I have a belief, a theory, if you will, and I constantly spout it, that if you've got 25, 30 grand to spend, there's no better teacher than on the job training. There's no better teacher than investing that money in a deal. You'll learn vastly more from the experience than you'll ever learn from any teacher, from any guru. From ask even MBA level, you know, someone who got their 4-year degree in engineering and then went on to get their MBA, and then they finally, you know, get their first job and they start working. They'll tell you all they learned was theory. All they learned was surface level stuff. They didn't learn what they really needed to be a good engineer. It's the on-the-job training that really teaches you what you need to know. And I love telling people that if you do a good job, how often does your guru call you and tell you you're doing a good job and pat you on the back? Once or twice? Does he call you every day? Does he, more importantly, send you a check at the end of the month saying, you did such a good job, I'm going to give you $500? But that's what'll happen as a teacher if you put that money into a deal. And that money comes in the mailbox at the end of the month. That's your attaboy. That's your pat on the back every month. And I can't do that. I cannot possibly give you money. I can't call you every day and tell you you're doing a good job. And more importantly, when you mess up, I'm not a masochist. I can get mad at you. I can try to berate you. I can try to be the best drill sergeant I can be. It's not in my nature. But even if it was, even the best drill sergeant in the world, after a while, just starts feeling bad for how much they're beating up on you. But the building, the apartment, the house that you bought, it'll never stop. If you're doing a bad job, it's going to let you know every day that you are not correcting whatever mistake it is that you're making. And it's going to do that by having constant phone calls, a bad tenant, not going to send you money. Instead, it's going to ask you for money. It's just going to beat you up endlessly every day until you either fix it or you give up and get out. So there's no better teacher than the real experience. And I can guarantee you, if you put 25 grand into an apartment building as a passive investor, and you hold on to that for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, that thing's going to just every year pay you out money. And a coaching program is never going to pay you out money. And if you bought a little rental house that you kept forever, every year that you own it, it's building up value and it continues to add passive income to your family. So there's no way that a guru can do those kind of things, or a coach or a mentor. So I argue that you're much, much, much better off learning from the process. But, and I'm talking way too much. Please,
no,
guys,
that's good. I mean, I was going to expand on that as well, is in the GOB or any group you get into, but mainly the GOB, there is people there that, are your level, one a step above, one below, whatever. And that's the culmination of this, is, hey, I can say I got 25 and I can go into the deal. And now I'm part of this team where I'm learning how to underwrite, how to property manage that way. Because I did that. I paid coaches. And before I got invited in the GOB, I was thinking, okay, which coaching program am I going to go to? This one's 25, this one's 10,000. What do I need? And I really had to ask myself a question. What do I really need? Do I really need somebody to tell me that this is the area you need to invest in? Do I really need to tell somebody that you need to go find a sponsor or deal? I already know that. I need the team around me to go do that. That's what the GOB has provided me. I have the team. I invest outside of my Michigan area. I'm looking in Iowa. I have investments in Oklahoma. I couldn't have done that unless I had team members that already have boots on the ground, is what they call it, and give that education that would probably take me months and years, like Jim talked about earlier, to gather that knowledge. Well, we've got team members that are on the ground right there. That's the kind of, experience you look at getting from a group like this. Now, am I the biggest guy in the pool? No, what by no way means, but I'm part of that team that's learning, like Jim talked about, all that experience, that 25, that 50,000 I invested, that puts together and us and all that education. Now, I could have taken that 25,000 or 50,000, gone to a coach and a guru. But again, like I ran it through my mind, I already know this, I already know this, I already know. I've been doing real estate for 23 years. I don't know everything, but I know what I don't know and I know what I do need, right? I need a guy like a Jim Biggs that when I find a deal, 100 unit, that has the balance sheet to do that. I don't have the balance sheet to do that, right? That's what the GOB provides, and that's what the culture provides. And don't ever think that you don't have anything to give, because just what you talked about, Rebekah, is you have experience of spending money on something that, may have worked or given you a little knowledge. You're here, and all of you are here on this call. You could be sitting watching TV, right? You could be sitting, and going out to the bar or whatever. You've taken at least one step into, that something's different. We need to do something different. This is why you're here. Anybody else have, Reginald, you have a hand up? Go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Thank you, Pat. Thank both of you. I've very much enjoyed the call tonight. I'd like to know, one, how do we, if we want to find out more, if we want to participate, how do we go about that? Because I think we're going to be ending kind of soon here. And the other thing was, is $25,000 the minimum amount that you can invest in an apartment building passively, or what's the minimum amount you would need to invest in an apartment building passively? But mostly what I want to know is how to participate in the GOB network going forward.
Well, first, I'll let Jim answer the first question. Secondly, the 25,000 is just an example. When you find a deal, the sponsor would set that minimum. And the good thing about, like Jim talked about, we're all friends here, right? We're all knowing each other. You can have 10 grand and another person has another 10 grand. And then let's say the minimum set at 50 grand to enter that syndication or that deal. you can partner with those people and then you can still go into the deal. So that was kind of just an example. There's typically, and maybe Jim can correct me, typically it's $50,000 to invest in a syndication. Some I've seen at 25,000, but that doesn't mean you have to have all 25,000 in yours. You can partner with people that you meet through the GOB, or I partnered with an old work boss and did a project, right? He didn't know how to do, he wanted to get in it. He had money, I had money, we put it together. So that one there, but go ahead, Jim, you can answer the other one too. I don't mean to.
Yeah. Most of these, there's a thing in our world called the PPM. It's a private placement memorandum. And most of these deals are that. They're private. They're not meant to be for the public. And I could go into why we have the name GOB, but we are trying to break down those barriers. We want to have normal people be able to build the same kind of wealth that ultra high net worth individuals build by investing in these types of projects. And normal people cannot invest in these kind of projects. So Pat gave you one path, which is partner up with friends and family until you get the minimum. Most deals today have a minimum of $50,000. Even the vast majority that I'm looking at that come in my mailbox are 75 to 125. And the deal that we're working on right now in Houston, we've got probably half a dozen investors that have invested more than 200. So it's not easy to break into. But I come from very, very, very poor people. And one of my goals is to make these kind of deals accessible to anyone. If I walk into a McDonald's and get a cup of coffee and I'm talking to that person across the counter and we strike up a conversation and I come to find out that they want to rise above their station. They have big dreams. You know, they don't want to be working a W-2 job for somebody for their entire life. I want to make these platforms available to them. And so we are going to start some funds and some crowdfunding so that anyone can invest, even if they only have $10 a week. You know, I want to make it available to even, you know, my grandson, you know, to invest out of his piggy bank, because you've got to start somewhere. And the sooner you start and you start putting aside a little bit, you know, and you don't have to live your life the way you might be living it now, the way your parents might have lived it and your grandparents. You know, you don't need to be restricted by where you were born and how you were born.
This is a very exciting idea. Thank you for taking action on it. And thank you, Pat, for presenting it tonight.
Well, thank you for being here and taking that first step. And I thank everybody. Any other questions? I want to respect people's time. I set it for an hour. We can obviously go longer, but obviously I want to respect everybody's time. Any other questions? Okay.
Don't be bashful. Everyone should be asking a question. And
Yes.
if you can't think of one, I don't care what it is. Ask me why I'm wearing a sweatshirt tonight instead of a suit. You know, ask me what color my eyes are. Ask me something.
Well, we know why you're wearing the sweatshirt. You're in Chicago. It's
It's cold.
cold, yes, like it is here in Michigan. But it
How
is
long
warming.
have you
It's
been-
28 degrees right now. It's balmy here. It's balmy. It's, you know. But no,
Jim,
yeah,
how-
definitely.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I'm
Ron.
just curious, Jim, how long have you been wearing your current hairstyle?
Well, if you look closely, you'll see that I am totally bald right here on both sides. So I can grow my hair as long as I want, but
Only in the
only
middle.
down here. And it looks really weird if I have this big bald spot right there. I've never seen anybody bald just there. And I always told my wife if I started going bald, I'd just shave my head. I'd be like Michael Jordan. But I did that last year. And man, you have never seen an uglier bald guy in your life. And I scared myself when I look in the mirror. And so I decided I was just going to let, you know, this little bit grow. And my grandson is 3. He turned 3 in July, and he used to love to take a bath. And when he come out of the bath, Grandpa would always do this to his hair. And so then he wanted Grandpa to have spiky hair too. And so I just started wearing spiky hair, and I love it. And he
It works for you.
Yeah, thank you.
It does, doesn't it?
And I like to do something just as a networking trick. I like to do something when I meet new people that will help them remember who I am. And so I might go to an in-person network meeting and wear a really bright color, or I might wear suspenders or a bow tie, something that makes me different than everybody else, just so it helps people remember who you are. Little networking trick.
Definitely. Any other questions?
Courtney?
I'm gonna share with you how to pull off the chat. First of all, thank you very much, Jim, for your time and
Hey, I
energy tonight.
am grateful to be asked, Pat. I am eternally grateful to be asked. And I haven't been checking the chat. I don't know if anyone dropped a question in there, but could you look, Pat, just to make sure?
Yep, I'm scanning through it right now.
And while you're looking, I'm going to ask a question. Courtney Jones, Miss Courtney Jones, ask me a question.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you great.
I put my question in the chat, and my question was, do you assist people who, with the network, with deals that are smaller than commercial?
Absolutely. And I encourage people there's 2 ways to grow in this business very, very, very fast. The fastest way is if you can raise capital. If you can raise capital, you can get on a deal tonight. And I could put you in a deal every single day. The second fastest way is to start small and grow exponentially. So the hardest part of this business is raising capital. But if you start with a 4-plex,
I would agree. I currently have a 4-plex, but I think it wasn't the wisest deal ever.
Well, then thank goodness you bought a 4-plex.
Right.
So if you'd have followed everybody else's advice and tried to get 100 units on your first deal.
Yeah. So this was my 3rd one. I have 2 single families, and I've had them and they run like butter, but a 4-plex is a different beast. and so that's why I ask if you do smaller, because I would be interested in duplicating that and the single families, but I'm a little intimidated about the bigger monster.
Yeah. And that's why I encourage people to start small. Is number one, you don't have to raise capital because you can get a HUD loan for 97%. If you're a veteran, you can get a loan for 100%. And the other thing is we make mistakes on every deal we do. And we make the most mistakes on the early deals. And especially when we're changing class, when we switch from single family to multifamily, like you said, it's a different animal. And so your most mistakes are in that early learning stages. And you'd rather make mistakes on a small asset than on a big asset. And you'd rather make mistakes when you only have 1 or 2 investors and not 20 or 30. And so starting small, you get to work your way up to being a better and better and better capital raiser. And each deal you do, you get better and better and better at doing the deal, managing the deal, sourcing the deal, all the different pieces you get better at. And at the end of a year, if you were to buy 1 asset every 90 days, you would have just as many doors as someone who spent a year trying to get 100 units. And my argument is you are going to blow past them because that's their first deal. They're still learning. You're a well-oiled machine by this point. You've done 4 or 5 deals and you're humming. You've got everything down. You know who you're going to use for property management. You know what it's going to look like and how to asset manage. You've been building your team. You've been raising capital now on 3 or 4 deals. Each time you raise capital, it becomes a little bit easier. So you're a well-oiled machine. And I think that's the best way to learn to do this. And some of the most profitable deals that you'll have 5 or 10 years from now are those very first deals you bought because they get paid off faster. And now they're just generating cash flow. And you don't usually have to partner with a lot of people. So you get a much bigger percent of that cash flow. But yeah, we absolutely will. We love to help people start small and grow exponentially.
Great question.
Courtney, I can attest to that as well. Hey, Jim. Hey, Pat.
Hey, Zach.
I have a 4-unit in Chicago as well, and I've had a number of conversations with both Jim and Pat. They've been extremely helpful, as has the GOB network. And yeah, so I mean, I think, you know, the end goal is obviously to scale up into the larger stuff, but for now, focus there. And it's been extremely helpful just to kind of, you know, even just see people discussing and talking about the deals and sitting in on the underwriting sessions and everything like that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Zach, do you have any questions tonight?
I don't. Nope. I was actually able to refinance on the current 4-unit. So we'll be looking for the next one here shortly. Yeah.
That's good.
Fantastic. That is fantastic. I love when that happens.
That's awesome.
So just so everybody knows, I answered Zach. The answer is green. That's the color of my eyes. I know Zach wanted to know.
I've always wondered that, Jim. I just.
So Glenn, did you have a question, or have you already asked a question? As a beginner, what would you say how to go about learning to vet deals if you're a funding investor? Okay, so you're a limited partner in LP. The best way to learn to be a great LP is learn all the things that GPs are being taught. Learn how to underwrite a deal, even if you're not going to underwrite deals. Learn how to read a balance sheet, even if that's not what you enjoy doing. Learn about market research so that when a sponsor offers you a deal in Ypsilanti, you know how to go find information about Ypsilanti. You know how to do comps. You know how to do rent comps and sales comps. So the best way to be a great LP is train as if you were going to be a GP.
And another advice would be to attend all the webinars that the GPs give, and you don't have to click that button, invest, right? You can get all the benefits and see how they underwrote it, how the underwriting is, take that back with you. That's what I do. I do screenshots and take that stuff back. How do they figure out the demographics? You get so much because they've put a lot of effort into that. Great question. Dennis, you had your hand raised. Go ahead. Or I should say, is it Dennis?
Is it Rebekah?
Rebekah.
We're both here.
Hey, guys.
So Courtney's comment kind of struck up, I guess, a little bit of a debate between the two of us. So
well, I just need to know your side. That's all I need to know.
I was going to say.
A debate between me and my husband on our side.
I know. That's what I'm trying to say. Dennis, a whole lot of headache.
So basically, he thinks that we just need to jump in head first into 100+ doors and just knock it out, figure it out, and just do it.
Yeah.
Where listening to what Courtney says, I think he doesn't see any benefit of having a single family where you're flipping it. Your income that you're getting off of it is just going back to the money you invested. To me, I think the knowledge and understanding how to run such a process is going to be more beneficial when you go for the 100 doors, because you're going to have a little bit more of an idea of what you're walking into, how much it's going to cost you and things like that.
Yeah. And, the dichotomy is that everyone else is teaching go big, that it takes just as much effort, just as much time, the same amount of knowledge, the processes are all the same. So why would you do a 10-unit deal instead of a 100-unit deal? And that makes perfect sense. And that's why they're all teaching it. But the real reason they're teaching it is because they know you can't do it by yourself. You need them.
Yep. And
so it drives you back to them. But I'm going to tell you the reason you don't want to do it. Now, I'm not saying you can't. I'm just telling you only 3 to 5% of the people succeed in doing it within a year. Because think of it this way. If you are going to a broker asking him to sell you a 100-unit deal and I'm going to the same broker, why in the world would he give the deal to you instead of me? Especially if I've already bought a few deals from him. He wants the most important thing to a seller and to a broker is certainty of close. And the way they gauge that is how many deals have you already done? And have you done deals with me? So it makes it extremely difficult for new people to break in. It takes them a long time to build those relationships. So that's one reason. But a more important reason is what I told Courtney, we make mistakes on every deal we do. And if you made a lot of mistakes on your first deal and it was a 100-unit deal and you were not able to provide the pro forma business plan that you promised your investors, none of them are going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. And you probably have 20 or 30 or 40 people invested in that deal. Now, would you rather piss off 3 or 4 of your best friends and family? Or would you rather piss off 30 or 40 people that you just barely know through investing? If you piss off the 30 or 40, the chances are you'll never do another deal because word travels very quickly in this industry. It's a relatively small industry. And so that's an argument about why not to do it big right out of the gate. The other is it's exponentially harder to raise capital on a 100-unit deal or a $10 million deal than it is on a 10-unit, $1 million deal. One, you only need a few people. And the first few times you raise capital, it is, I don't care if it's the 5th time, it's hard. And unless you're an extremely gifted capital raiser, it is hard. Now, if you already have, if you travel in the right circles and you're an extrovert and the life of the party and all your friends are doctors and high-paid lawyers and you join the yacht club and you belong to the country club and the polo club, yeah, you're going to raise money easily. But that doesn't describe most of the people that I'm working with. It doesn't describe most of the people I know. And so that is why I say start small and grow exponentially. But I will absolutely change just for you guys. I'll tell you, if you want to start big, this is the secret of how to do it. Don't be responsible for making the mistakes. Be a capital raiser. Let someone else who has more experience than you do find the deal, underwrite the deal, build the business plan, and you raise the capital or a part of the capital. But when you build that relationship, make sure you're building it with someone that is willing to let you in on all of the secrets, let you peek behind the curtain and see what Oz is up to, see how the sausage is made. So Pat mentioned a deal in Oklahoma that him and I are both on. And as a sponsor on that deal, Pat can pick up the phone anytime he wants and ask me anything about that deal. And I'll tell him whatever it is he needs to know. But we also send out monthly financials. We send out, an information breakdown about what's going on in the deal. And, we're struggling with this and here's why. Okay. We didn't anticipate that, but that's okay. Here's the action we're taking to remediate it. But if you want to do a big deal and do it fast, that's the easiest, safest, fastest way to do it.
Without the mistakes, right? Without the big bruise in the head.
Yeah.
And like you said, you get that experience of being on those webinars, enjoying that, getting that information. So now you can take that to your next deal and go, okay, here's the way I want to do my deal, right? And, even if you go after a big deal, you're going to be part of a team. I guess that's really what you're not going to be able to take down a 100-unit yourself and there's just too many parcels, or pieces to that. So that was a great question though.
Yeah. So Pat, have you got a few minutes longer or is the wife telling you to get off right now?
No, I'm okay. I mean, I just want to make sure that, yeah, we can stay and talk.
Anyone can drop off anytime they want.
Yeah, definitely.
This is we're just having fun. And this is the kind of networking that I love to do and that I think we all learn the most from. Definitely. And so I want to call on someone else. So Brandon.
Let me ask a quick question, please.
Sure.
Oh, go right ahead.
How do we copy the chat? Because I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to stay to the very end.
Okay.
I got a little bit more time, but
no problem.
Are you on a cell phone or are you on a computer?
Computer.
Okay. Pat, take it away.
So like, what you want to do is click on the chat, and that opens up in your sidebar. And then in the bottom where you would type a message, there's a piece of paper, a smiley face, and then those 3 little dots that say more. Click on that. And then up at the top of that dialog box is going to be Save Chat. Once you click on that, that'll save it to your folder, and you can go click on Show in Folder. Okay, click on that. And then what I do is I throw it on my other screen. So it keeps it right there so you know where it goes. It actually puts it in a Zoom folder on your desktop, and that's the chat. So you don't have to copy it all down.
Now, there is another way of doing it, but it's more
Okay.
dangerous, which is just to click on any message in the chat and right click and say select all, copy, and then immediately have a document open or an email open and paste it into that document or that email. And the reason it's dangerous is if you get sidetracked and forget, then you lose all the data.
It goes away. Yes.
It goes away.
Thank you. I didn't know that. It's
Yeah.
just, it gives you the same information.
Yeah.
I still have to take out the time and date and who it's from. It gets the same information. So
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you
Did that help
both.
you?
Reg, did you follow it? Were you able to find, number one, you have to open the chat.
Yeah, I found it all.
Okay.
Okay,
Fantastic.
cool.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you.
So we have Brandon, I'm coming to you next, but since Dennis or Rebekah raised their hand again, I'm going to go back to them because I want to make sure Dennis is okay.
You want me to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. We're still having a small debate over here, but I guess my question is here is say, all right, I guess my biggest question is you mentioned, okay, most deals are running, I think about 50,000, you said? Am I correct?
At minimum, yeah.
Okay,
At minimum.
so what exactly does the 50,000 get? So we raised the $50,000 capital. I come to you and I say, Jim, I got this money. I got it all raised. I'm ready to go into a deal. What does that do for me?
As an LP, it buys you a pro rata share of that apartment building. So 50 grand, let's say for instance, they bought a 100-unit building and each unit was selling for 50 grand. You just bought one unit effectively.
Okay.
Now you don't really own that unit. What you own is of 1/50th of every unit.
Gotcha. Okay.
And also the common grounds and, you know, everything else that goes along with it. The depreciation, everything that goes along with that, you own 1/50th of it.
Okay.
So,
And then what is my role as far as, you know, I've given you that money. We're in the deal. Everything's going, and I'm obviously getting an ROI on that. So then, you know, what is my role after that? Do I just sit back and collect
So
money?
you're
Do I need to
limited-
do anything?
yeah, you're a limited partner. And by definition, that means you don't really have a role. And if you're lucky, you have a good sponsor who will send you out monthly communications about the deal. And what we encourage all of our sponsors to send out is at least all of the financials. So send out a general ledger, a T12, a rent roll, and a little blurb telling about occupancy and if any challenges that you've had or any successes that you've had. That takes you maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes to read through every month.
Okay.
And if you've got a W-2 job and you don't want another W-2 job, then being an LP is the fastest, easiest way to be a real estate investor because you're letting someone else do most of the work.
So is there a certain percentage of ROI I get every month on that, or does it depend on the deal? Does it depend on the area?
All of that.
All that.
All
Okay.
of that. Yeah. So what we didn't mention, someone asked the question about being, what's the best way to be a good LP and to underwrite a deal or figure out if this is a good deal. I would say the number one thing is know the sponsor as well as you can. So let's say, for instance, I'm an experienced sponsor, but you don't know me. And let's say that Pat has just gotten started and he's sponsoring his first deal. I'm going to tell you to invest with Pat. Don't invest with me. Because even though Pat's new, you know Pat. You trust Pat. And if something's not going right, you're going to go knock on his door. You know where he lives.
Right. Gotcha.
And Pat is going to feel obligated to you. And he's going to feel, that's my friend. I've known him my entire life. We went to elementary school together. I'm not going to let him down. And that's more important than any amount of knowledge or experience that I have.
Okay.
And is knowing your sponsor, trusting them. Now, you can't always know and trust your sponsor. But I would say to you, if you don't have a real warm and fuzzy feeling about that sponsor, that's your sixth sense telling you something. Don't invest in that deal. And it may not be the sponsor. It may be the deal. It may be something about the town. It may be something you don't even realize that you were out working on the car and listening to the radio, and it was NPR, and they gave a breakdown of this huge employer that's about to shut down in this town. And you didn't register it consciously, but subconsciously you did. And that deal, your hair is standing on end because your subconscious is telling you to run.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, Brandon,
Great
your
question.
turn, buddy.
All right, what am I doing? I'm asking a question.
Any question you want.
That's what you're doing, Brandon.
All right, question for Jim would be, what are you most excited about for the GOB in the next 2 to 3 years?
That I could literally, I think you know this, and Pat and anybody else on the GOB, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about our plans, our goals, our big visions. Many of the things that I wanted very, very early on are coming at us much faster than I anticipated. But one of the biggest ones that's actually not coming as fast as I wanted is we want to build an AI-driven underwriting model. Most of underwriting, there's two primary pieces to underwriting. One is getting all of the information into the underwriting model. And that's just data entry. And I think that most people are better off doing the other piece of underwriting, which is the art. If data entry is the science, then interpreting that is the art. And that's where you really make a deal, not data entry. So we want AI to put the rent roll, the T12, and the operating memorandum, all of that data, and eventually even market data. So if you're in the Atlanta submarket, we want it to reach out to the Census Bureau and tell me what the area median income is for 1 mile. We want it to reach out to other sources, maybe even within the GOB network, and tell us what the market rents are within 1 mile. So we want an AI-driven model that does a lot of that data entry, the heavy lifting, because that's the piece most people don't like. But interpreting that data and trying to figure out a business plan that'll make sense, that's the art. And that's where we want everybody's brain power to be focused on. So that's one of the big goals that we have. A lot of that is already here. There's already Click AI and Red IQ, and there's a couple of others, and I can't remember who they are, that can easily import the rent roll in the T12. The operating memorandum and the market data, those are going to be much, much, much more difficult. But absolutely, we already have the brain power to do it. And we already have the brain power on the GOB because we have a ton of IT people on the GOB network. But we haven't been able, when people come to this, 80% of people come to real estate to build that passive income generational wealth, but also to escape that W-2. So asking all those IT people to spend more time on IT when they're really trying to do real estate is difficult. But that's one of the big goals. And the other is to continue to bring massive value. So we just signed up StackSource to partner with us on the website. so that if you need a quote, an instant quote on a deal, you can input 14 fields of information about your deal, and you can get a real, live, instant quote for that deal. And it's good. You can close on that deal with that quote that day.
Now, it's a mortgage. People maybe not know what that company is. It's a mortgage or financial institution, right? StackSource.
StackSource is a broker.
Okay.
And they are an AI-driven platform. And one of the reasons we are trying to partner with other people that want to bring technology to the space and that are new and growing. And StackSource was, well, they still are the biggest vendor partner with BiggerPockets. And they are super, super excited to be with us. And as long as BiggerPockets is treating them right, I'm sure they'll stay there. But they are not near as excited about being BiggerPockets' biggest partner as they are about being on our network. So,
Hey, Jim, just wanted to get on. I've been on the call, been paying attention, and I learned a couple things. I learned about how your hair got the way it is, and I know that before, so that was cool. But just wanted to kind of come in and plug GOB. I've been a member a little over a year now, and it has definitely expedited my career growth. I think everybody knows, like the old saying, your network equals your net worth, but GOB is a living testament to that. I've been able to learn things that I probably would have took 4 or 5 years to really get a grasp of, just by being able to speak to people who have been where I am, and just being so helpful and willing to help you accomplish your goals. Jim being one of them. Pat, I've also had a conversation with him, and it's like, whatever you want to learn, there's somebody there that can help you get to where you're trying to go. And I've been able to provide a value to others by introducing them to the GOB. So like, that in itself is value that you can bring to others. And, you know, everything's about exchanging value and helping others. And I just can't say enough good things about the GOB. So everybody who's on the call, and the fact that you guys are staying past the time shows that you're interested in, you're really willing to better yourselves. And I think you guys are in the right place, and just happy to be a part of it.
And we are very, very happy that you're a part of it, Brandon. And folks, this is someone that's a very, very smart person, individual. He's an engineer by trade, if I'm not mistaken, Brandon. And, you know, that I'm constantly hearing people say, you know, we learn, and it's, I'm not trying to degrade an education, and education is one of the best things you can have in life. But we don't teach a lot of the real world nuts and bolts in our educational system. We're really teaching high level to try to just get your mind right so that you're ready to absorb all of the real world knowledge once you get out there. And we're trying to cut through that. We want to try to give you a PhD level of understanding of how to buy an apartment building or buy a single family house. And we're grateful to have you on the network, Brandon. Thank you very much. Pat, who have we not called on? Have we called on Marcus?
No, not yet.
Marcus, you're up.
We'll get to you, Rebekah and Denise, or Dennis, I should say. We see you.
Did they raise their hand again, or they just never lowered it?
No, they raised it again.
Uh-oh. Well, Marcus, we're coming back to you in a second here. I got to check on Dennis.
Go ahead, guys.
He actually has left for the evening. It's just me now. He's the one that actually found you guys to start out with online for us to even join this evening.
Okay.
So he might have this answer. I just don't know that he does. How do we go about finding you guys in the future so we can continue following more meetings with you guys?
2 different ways. So Pat, you will be on Pat's mailing list from now on.
Yep.
When you signed up tonight, he'll send you an invite. But so, and Pat, are you doing every other week?
No, we're doing it monthly, second Wednesday of the month. So the next one is January 12th.
And so we also, on the GOB network, we have a public and a private calendar. The public calendar has a bunch of meetups on it. and they're not all GOB meetups. They're just multifamily meetups. So if you want to network with more people, you can go on there and find that public calendar. I also have that calendar on LinkedIn under my profile. It just looks like a big Google calendar under my profile. And if you want to know about the GOB specifically meetups like Pat's, we have 4 or 5 of those, and those are on the private calendar
Okay,
for GOB members.
perfect. Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, Marcus, are you ready with your question, sir?
Marcus, we're going to keep coming back to you, so you're going to have to unmute sooner or later. We'll give you one more pass, but you're going to have to unmute.
Anybody
So-
else have it? Reggie, do you have a question? Anything's gnawing at you, Glenn? This is your time to ask. And there is no silly question. There is no stupid question. There is no, please don't,
Absolutely.
anything you want. Go ahead, Reggie.
Hi, Pat and Jim. I don't have a question. I'm quite versed on all of this. I just thought I'd sit in and listen to what you guys had to say. I actually got my first investment was a 43-unit apartment building when I was 24 years old, and that's 44 years ago. Since then, I've done all type of things in real estate and community development and community program management for a city of Detroit, doing major $200 million deals for the city of Detroit, working with HUD out of Washington, D.C., stuff like that.
Okay.
But what I wanted to do was concur with what Jim said in terms of the education that you get in the formal structure. I have an MBA and extensive background in finance, and I tell you, what I learned from the School of Hard Knocks was much more valuable than what I got from Wayne State University in my 3 degrees. They were good at lending or creating a foundation, I should say. That's what it was good at. And so when I was able to go through the School of Hard Knocks, I better understood what I was facing and how to deal with it and face the challenges and what have you. I might also mention I've got a little background as 5 years of being a paralegal for a real estate attorney, and as well as a former police officer for Detroit, Michigan. So I've got a well-rounded community experience and background and what have you. What I noticed in the chat room, I think he's gone. No, he's still there. Mark Gross. Mark mentioned something about cost segregation. I understand what that is, but there's a lot of people probably don't. So I thought it would be a good idea to have Mark briefly describe what he's talking about in that chat room about cost segregation. So could you do that, Mark?
Great question. Thanks, Reggie.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'll pay you later, Reggie. No, just kidding. Cost segregation. It's basically deferring your taxes based on accelerated depreciation. So I'll give you some examples. For most property types, you can do a 39-year straight line depreciation, excluding the land value based on the purchase price. Now, for multifamily residential properties, that's 27.5 years. And there's something new in recent years called bonus depreciation. It's kind of taken cost segregation and put it on steroids. And what it does is allows you to depreciate a much larger portion of the property in the first year. And the advantage of that is that you can then, we all know with the time value of money that $1 today is worth a lot less than what it's going to be 27.5 years or 39 years from now. So when you defer your taxes on this, what it does is allows you to have additional funds that you can use to go out and buy other properties and do things of that nature. So that's kind of a 30,000-foot view of it. There's obviously a lot more details to it, but do you have any questions in that regard?
No, I didn't have any questions, Mark. That was one of the things I learned in college when I get my MBA in taxation accounting.
Okay.
Thanks a lot for
I want to make.
Go ahead, Jim.
I want to make 2 comments. Number one, I love when Mark gives his explanation, because then I have written a little script for Mark, and it's called the Jim Biggs for Dummies Cost Segregation. And basically it helps you pay a whole lot less in taxes right away. And if you're not paying zero federal taxes, Mark can help you get there. And so if that doesn't interest you, you're probably on the wrong call.
I also had put in the chat, Mark was gracious enough to be on, I think it was last month's meetup. So I put the link to his recorded presentation on cost segregation. He did an awesome job of explaining it. Please go to the YouTube link that I put in there, watch it. If you have questions, he's put his information in the chat. Give him a jingle. He's an open book. It's definitely a good way and a great way to learn and how you can make more money on these deals. Thank you.
And,
good thing, Reggie. Thank you.
And the second thing I wanted to follow up on is that everyone, you don't realize how much value was in tonight's call. The fact that Reggie is here and that he put his information and shared it in the chat. Everyone here, if you're trying to do deals that are bigger deals, this is a team sport. It's very, very, very hard to do it by yourself. And you have to have other people help you. You have to have other people with experience, which Reggie has, an SREO, which I know Reggie has, experience with Fannie and Freddie debt, which I know Reggie has, and net worth and liquidity, which I'm sure Reggie has. So it's not just me that's on the call that can provide those things. And that's what's beautiful about the GOB network, is there's a lot of people just like me and that have even more experience than I do, and that are smarter than I am, and that you can relate to better than you do with me. You know, just my speech, you know, that hillbilly slang that I don't hear, you know, I know it's there, and that just grates certain people's ears. And so they would rather try to make Reggie their partner. And so having that opportunity and the opportunity to meet people like that is the most valuable piece of being here tonight. So make sure that you copy the chat and that you got all that information, and then reach out to them. It doesn't make any difference that you have the information if you don't send them an email or get on a phone call with them. It makes no difference. So, you know, try to build some relationships. And if you're brand new, you know, bring some value to the deal for Reggie. Say, Reggie, look, I'm brand new. I don't know what I can offer you, but maybe you could help. Give me some ideas of the things that you might need help with. Could I be boots on the ground for you? Can I live in, wherever, in Lansing. And, you know, are you in Lansing? No, I'm not. I'm in the city. Are you investing in Lansing? Yes, I am. Can I go take some pictures of a property for you? Can I do a drive-by? Can I go do some market comps for you? Add some value to Reggie. And then Reggie, I guarantee you, will add value to you. And you guys can start to build a relationship where when you find that good deal, and maybe it is a 10 unit, or like Reggie, maybe it's even bigger. And Reggie says, you know what, I remember what that felt like. And had it not been for Mr. or Mrs. X, I wouldn't have been able to buy mine. So I want to help you. So make sure that you're taking that chat with you. Super valuable.
And that's the reason why I started this, you know, is to have the ability to communicate and talk and get to know other people that you couldn't have met in 100 Sundays, right? You can only go to how many, you know, in-person events. That's what it is. So, but thank you. Appreciate it. All righty. Anybody else got any other questions?
Where's Marcus?
I'm so proud that you guys are sticking with us here at 47 an hour, 47 minutes. This is awesome.
Marcus refuses to come off of that mute.
Yeah, Marcus,
I think he's
a tough cookie. Tough cookie. That's okay. We don't want to make people uncomfortable, and that's okay. And listen, thank you. I'm gonna kind of back it down here unless anybody else had any other questions. I want to respect Jim's time as well as everybody else's on the call. But
I will say, if you guys have any other questions, reach out to Pat or me via email and ask them.
Yes.
You know, that we'll gladly answer those questions for you.
Yes. And thank you all for coming. Thank you for attending. Jim, as always, very grateful. Thank you for lending your experience. Mark, you did a great job also too. Thank you for sharing. And everybody on the call, thank you for sharing. Again, we'll be back next month, January 12th. That happens to be my birthday. Not looking for gifts, but we'll take donations. Same time. I don't have a guest right now, but I'll announce that coming soon. So, but listen, thank you very much. I hope you guys got a little piece of value out of it. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next month. And have a good holiday season if we don't see you. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.
And everybody have a great evening. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye now.
Hey, Pat,
Yes, sir.
let me copy the chat real fast.
Oh, yep. Go right ahead, sir. I'm going to send it to you anyway.
Copy. Okay, I got it.
I'll send you some other stuff as well. The recording and the registrants, everybody who registered, who didn't attend, you'll get that as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No problem, buddy. Thank you, Jim.
Right.
Appreciate it very much. That was
I'll-
awesome. Your energy was just off the charts. Thank you.
Well, I know that Rebekah has another question, but I don't want to. I don't want to keep you up all night. So, Rebekah,
That's great. Thank you, though.
send an
Very
email,
good.
Rebekah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good
Talk to you
day now.
soon.